Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast. I don't know, hosted by your favorite two brown girls, Sana and
Jackie.
Welcome to episode 47. We're slowly approaching that big 50.
I know. We're almost to our 50s.
We're almost to our 50s.
I think we're also close to almost being a year in it.
We are a year in it, no?
We aren't. Oh my God, did we miss our year anniversary?
Caesar knew we were a year in.
We will have to figure out this exact date.
We will have to we need the cake.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you guys didn't congratulate us.
I know.
I'm kind of disappointed in my viewership. I would think you guys would keep track of all this.
We got no gifts.
There
was no, congratulation messages.
No shout outs.
Wow.
5 of you are slipping. I'm going to need you guys to pick up the pieces because
I'm going to need the 5 of you to get together and figure this out.
It's getting a little embarrassing for me.
There was no cake.
I wanted flowers at my doors. I wanted to wake up with confetti everywhere.
Yeah. The congratulatory message. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I needed the brands to send me the merch, just how they do. It's like, happy birthday, congratulations, happy 1 year. Where was my, merch?
Wow. That's embarrassing.
It's super embarrassing.
We'll have to do something. Maybe we'll do a best of episode.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll do like a little
compilation.
Why can't I speak? Compilation of all our funniest clips.
Yeah, the funniest moments.
Especially the one that never aired from Italy.
Oh, God. That actually would be y'all would be in for a treat. That was an interesting.
There's a reason why it never
Yeah, there's a reason why it never aired.
Yeah. And we'll keep it at that.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into it.
Yes, let's get into it. Weekend, 2-week recap, weekend recap. Let's not make it too long. Let's just, what happened in the recent
times. I'm trying to think. Honestly, I feel like my life has just been very, I hate to say it, but like boring, Yeah. I mean, also calm and peaceful.
Which is good. We like calm and
good.
peace.
It does not necessarily mean boring, but there are times where it can be feel a little boring. But most of my time has been taken up by I was playing mom. My niece was here. My 12-year-old niece was here, and so she was staying with me for a while. She left mid last week, so I was just taking care of her. Now
the big question is, are you ready to be a mom?
Absolutely. No.
I'm glad we figured this out, because it is something you've been wanting, and now you're like, maybe I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's also just something that, again, if you don't have, like, the right setup, things become that much harder. The lifestyle, it was her in my apartment. That apartment is set up for one person, me, and that is it. Like, there's nobody else is welcomed in there, and, also, she doesn't have all her stuff, and, anyway, the whole setup. So maybe I am in theory, but everything else would have to be there. So highly recommend if you ever want to figure it out, borrow a kid for a week and see how you enjoy it and like it. But that was really what took up most of my time. And I was exhausted because you have to keep them very entertained. And before she came, I was asking my sister, what does she do?
Yeah.
I can't be
is there directions?
I'm
instructions?
Yeah. I was looking for
a manual
pinned on instructions with her. Where's your little manual? What do you come with? And I can't.
How do I turn it off?
Yeah. How do I? Does she have a low volume?
Yeah.
Does she get tired? What happens? Because you can't just be like, hey, do you want to go to a winery?
Yeah. How often do I feed?
Yeah, 100%. I was like, what does she eat? How often do I feed her? I don't. Talking to you like it's a bet, but it's true because I'm used to me and my schedule, and even one day, I had eaten. We ate breakfast late, and so I wasn't hungry, and I forget that this child is a 12-year-old growing girl and has a metabolism, faster than the speed of lightning. And we got her nails done, and then she's like, "I'm hungry," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You need to eat." Oops. Okay. Let me get you food.
Yeah.
So very interesting. But it was fun. It was a great time to have her. I think it'll be kind of a regular summer thing. Well, she'll come and spend 2 weeks. If we're here in California, she'll come and spend 2 weeks in California, or just go and spend 2 weeks with grandparents and aunts and see her dad,
So she'll be back.
She'll be back.
You're ready for round 2.
Yeah. Well,
you'll be more prepared this time.
In a year. So
yeah. We got some time.
Yeah, we got some time. But other than that, not much. Of course, I was exhausted from it. So then I was just
I was exhausted for you. We barely spoke the last week, so I was like, well, where's the time?
Yeah. I was just I have to pay attention to her. I don't want her to feel neglected.
Yeah.
It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. So, yeah. It was very nice. Thanks you. Yeah, it was very nice to go back to single. But what about you? What's been going on?
Same, very low key, super chill. I do have a photo shoot on Wednesday.
Yes.
So I've been trying to be as snatched as possible. You know, I'm on a juice cleanse right now for the next 2 days just to stay as flat as possible.
Ladies, she's got to be photographed in white.
Yeah.
White athletic wear, by the way.
Photographed and videotaped.
So we all know.
We all know. So she's been going ham, trying to avoid social gatherings. Like, please don't invite me out.
Yeah, that's.
I was in Vegas last weekend. It did ruin my plans a bit. But one thing I did learn, and I think this is going to be a shock for the pod, because I'll have to mention this. I think I'm over Vegas. We never thought the day would come.
Gasp. Clutches pearls.
Like, I felt it was too much for me.
Yeah.
You know, I can't hang anymore. It's not what I'm into. I don't like the crowds. It's just not what I want anymore.
Welcome to your 30s.
So I think that was my last trip for a while.
Yeah.
I was like, this is enough for me. I'm you know, it was fun to hang out with my friends and my friend from the Bay that I don't get to see that often. So that part was fun. But I can't do these 4 a.m. nights anymore. I can't be in between the people having to entertain these conversations. Right. And it's like, it's just not what I want anymore. So I did that. Other than that, I've been calm. I did have a dinner with Bianca and her family recently. Recently, as in yesterday, but by the time you listen to this, it'll be like days ago.
Yeah.
But so it's been chill. It's been good. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, nothing crazy. No, but I think that is probably the biggest shocker with you in Vegas because
y'all were tight. We were tight, and we are breaking up now. We had a good damn run.
You know what? This is when you realize, like, welcome to your 30s, and then second, you start having different experiences in Vegas. You're like, let's go to the restaurants. Like, what about a nice show?
Speaking
what
of
about
restaurants,
spa?
we went to Carbone. Amazing.
Yes.
Carbone was amazing.
So jealous.
I would go back to Vegas for Carbone.
That's what you do now.
Yeah.
You're like, we're going to go to Carbone.
Yeah, I would go to Vegas for a different experience. It's not that I'm never not going back, but I can't do this night party, day club party, the next day, nightclub the next day. I wasn't even drunk literally. I wasn't even drunk the whole weekend because I was like, I can't anymore.
No, you can't. You can't even do that. You can't even. It's one of those things where it's like I can no longer do all day or like day and night. Like I have to pick one or the other.
And I only drank a little bit. Saturday AM at a 4 a.m. pizza. I felt nasty even doing that.
Yeah.
We're raising the white flag. We're done.
I give.
Yeah.
But so what else? What else has been going on?
A little life update, I guess, for the last, 3 weeks. We've been talking to someone new. It's a little bit of a tricky situation.
It is.
He lives out of state.
Kind of inspired today's topic.
Yeah, he lives out of state. We have met before, so it's not like this, like...
It's not a 90-day fiancé.
Yeah, it's not a 90-day fiancé. It's not a DM thing. Yeah. We have met before
You're
a few times.
You're not going to see Son on Catfish. Like.
Yeah, we knew each other before this happened.
Yes.
But he does live
somewhere else.
Yeah. And he's older than my usual range.
Yeah.
So that's also a little different for me. You know, it's funny because I've been introduced to guys in this range before, and I was like, absolutely not. Not that he's that old, but like, you know me, I had my 5-year max. He's a little above that.
Yeah, no, we talked about this all the time. And listener, you should know that I would always tell Sana, go for the older men. Yeah. And because just the difference between the emotional...
I will say the emotional maturity. I am seeing the day and night difference with the emotional maturity, being able to just speak about feelings and like just communication and talking about day and night difference.
Yeah, just being open, honest, being open to even being vulnerable and not having to hide their emotions away.
But there's the other side of the coin now, long distance.
Yeah. So there's
a lot to figure out. There's a lot figuring out in my life right now. That's kind of where we're at is how do we proceed?
Yeah, there's a lot of what if, which we were talking about. And that's what kind of, I don't know, we kind of talking about connection. And we were talking about like, you know, when you think you have it, like what does a genuine connection look like? Like we had seen this video, Sana sent me this video on TikTok. This is really where a lot of inspiration comes from. And it was like, because we talk about this, Sana and I talk about this within like our kind of like our dating struggles is, did I have a connection with him and was it a good date, or am I just a fun person?
Yeah.
And so there's kind of two sides to this, is that sometimes you have a really great emotional connection. So then you're like, well, is that going to translate to the in-person and to like the shared physical space? And then you are able to see this person and go on dates, but it's just like, is there truly an emotional connection and like genuine? So we were talking about that, and Sana was just kind of like, that's the concern right now, is regarding
for me,
connection,
because it's like emotional connection super strong. I haven't felt this type of emotional connection maybe ever. Yeah, where it's super strong, where the phone calls are so long, but it never gets old.
Right.
And I know people, well, it's so new still. So
it is.
Yeah, it's very new still, but it's different. But is that going to translate in person, right?
Right.
That is a concern, because we've met, but when we've known each other in the past, it was at a different capacity.
Right.
It wasn't
this. It was very simple.
It was very simple,
this.
casual. Like it was never dating. It was nothing. Right. So now going to that, and I haven't seen him since this changed.
Right.
What would that be like?
Yeah. Where does that go? Which, I mean, is it's a very valid question, and it's a very valid concern. But I think it's like, okay, well, let's start off with what does a genuine connection feel and look like? And I think we've both experienced this. And I think we can say that it's like no games. Mm-hmm. You mentioned emotional maturity. Mm-hmm. Because listener, Sana had the opportunity to play a game and she didn't.
I like how you just put me on blast.
Listen, the people want to know. Yeah. But it's true, though. Like, when you actually have the...
Yeah, there was something that I was a little bit annoyed about, and I was like, okay, do I be devious?
Yeah.
Or do I just be like, no,
No, we're not doing this. Like, we will, not that we're ignoring it, but we will talk about this at a later time. But I'm not going to play a game. I'm not going to be passive-aggressive. I know for me, passive-aggressive.
I'm not passive-aggressive, but I can be a little like... Well,
tit for tat.
Not exactly, but a little bit like
punishing.
I guess that's a little bit of a better word where it's like, well, you're going to see the consequences.
Yeah, that's punishing. That would be probably the dictionary definition.
That's true. You're not wrong, but it's not in a way where I'm trying to be mean. It's in a way where it's like, well, I don't want this to happen again. You know what I mean?
Which is still punishment.
I'm trying to justify it so hard right now. But I'm not doing it to be malicious. I'm doing it to almost like protect myself.
Well, it is a defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's like to protect myself is just like, well, I don't want you to think I'm okay with this.
Right. But instead of saying, hey, I'm not okay with this,
which is what I did.
Right. It's typically, well, not typically, but sometimes you take the route of like, well, let me show you how I'm not okay with this. Yeah. So again, let me punish instead of, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. We need to talk about this. Yeah. So, but for me, that's where the passive aggressive comes in. I will be the short one-word answers like, yep.
No, I don't do that.
Great. My biggest passive aggressive move is emojis.
Thumbs up.
100%. The
okay.
Yeah, the okay. If I just send simply that and it doesn't make sense within kind of the context of the conversation, like that's me being very passive aggressive. So yes, genuine connection is void of those types of games, of being passive aggressive, of being like punishing. And it involves emotional maturity, right? Which is what that is. The ability to communicate, to again express.
Yeah. Those are big.
What you're wanting.
That's what's holding us really strong, is the communication's really strong.
Yeah. But like also, I think not just being able to communicate, because you can communicate with anyone, but in a
meaningful way.
Yes, in a meaningful way where it's like, oh, I know that I could disagree with this person and it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Or I feel somewhat safe. Like again, it's very, very new. So like, listener, don't come at us. Like, very new. So yes, things are like, oh my God, me too. But I think...
No, I'm not a me too girl.
Yeah, but I think...
You know me.
That's what I'm saying, is I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, yeah, in 3 weeks, you're always just trying to find the commonalities.
But I will tell you though, you guys, 3 weeks seems short, but 3 weeks of talking to someone every night for hours does feel suddenly very long.
You know, and maybe then...
we don't do it. Is that what you're going to say?
No, maybe. Two things. Maybe we don't do it. And then also, maybe some people will have an understanding of what I went through, but multiply those 3 weeks times like, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 fucking years.
We're not going to get into it because I told you to get away from that a long time ago.
So we're both going to be in the same boat.
We're on the same boat because he was showing signs.
He was showing signs. He was. I chose to ignore it.
You chose to ignore 100%. It. I haven't seen any signs like that yet.
No, but that's what I'm saying is that it is a very dangerous game. It's a dangerous road. I shouldn't say game. It is a dangerous road to be on. You're either going to succeed or you'll fail. One or the other.
That's in every relationship. You're going to succeed or fail.
But this is a little bit different. I know we're going to watch on. This is a little bit different though, especially when it's like the everyday. It's multiple hours. It's different because it's
yeah. But I understand it's different.
Reality.
I think the reason why it is the way it is because he's not here.
Right.
If he was here, it wouldn't be that.
Same with my situation. He wasn't here.
But there were signs.
Of course there were. There were signs. Yeah. I don't know. 3 months into it, 4.
So now
5,
you
6,
can't compare
7.
it. You cannot compare it.
No, but that's what's hard is even in the beginning, right? A month into it, there were no signs. 2 months into it, there were no signs. But that's what's hard is that when you're developing this emotional connection. It's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough. But anyway, so going back to genuine connection, ability to communicate. I feel like you said this and I really liked it. Is interest is expressed either through actions or words. Mm-hmm. Like not afraid to say like, I really like you.
Yeah.
Or I'm really enjoying talking to you. Like these conversations are my favorite part of the day. And that reassurance.
Yeah.
That's I think is a huge one too, is that but also it's genuine. And it's it kind of makes sense within the grand scheme. Like obviously if he was like, I love you, you'd be like,
it's a lot.
Hold on a second, you know? Or if he was like over the top about like, oh my God, I just can't wait. This is amazing. You're everything. Like, it's like, okay, well, hold on a second.
Yeah, relax.
But I do think that especially from the men's side, if there is, you're able to express it. That's a huge one for me.
That's a huge one for me too, because a lot of men don't. Or are afraid to.
Right.
Where I think this is where the emotional maturity comes into play though, because being so easy and free to just do it, it's a nice feeling.
It is. Oh God, it's a great feeling. It's really funny. We've kind of touched on this in other conversations, but I feel like men don't understand how small word goes a very long way in both directions.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday.
Even just simply saying like, hey, I just want to say that like, I've been really enjoying talking to you. And
or I thought about you today.
Yeah, I thought about you today and like, or like it's becoming the favorite part of my day.
Yeah, or like, even like what, last week or something, he called me for like 2 minutes. I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
It was such a short conversation, but it does the world.
Oh, it makes a world of difference. Yeah. And then also in the opposite direction of if you're men, your words can cut.
They go both ways?
They go both ways. Let's just say that. But no, I think that's a big one. And then again, strong conversations, the meaningful, the deep, they're impactful. You're able to share. You feel open. You feel safe to an extent. Again, I know that it's early, but as you go on, you want to recognize, like, am I feeling safe or do I feel like I can't share this with this person because I'm going to be attacked or judged or whatever it is, especially past actions, I think is a big one. Or when it comes to like, I don't know, like body count or whatever, or like, how do you feel about this or
insurance?
Listener, that's a little bit of an inside joke.
Yeah.
You may never know that. Yeah. So, but yeah. Insurance fraud. And then this is a big one. This is a big one for me, and I don't know about you, but appropriate for the timeline.
So not rushing, no love bombing, not like
oversharing either. Like, and I know that kind of looks different for people because everyone's like, well, I don't think that's oversharing. And some people will be like, oh my God, I would never.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is maybe some certain things where you're just like, maybe not unloading like a whole bunch of trauma, or even if you are sharing, it's in kind of like an appropriate way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, this is how this impacted me. And it's not like, I guess, I don't know, maybe in the form of like, oh, I grew up with this and like I hate my mom because of blah blah blah. You know, it's like, ooh, that seems like a lot. Like I don't think I needed to know that much or that deep. Or like I had a friend recently tell me about something that happened to him a while back when he was young, and I've known him for many years, you know, and I've never known that about him, and he, you know, then felt okay to share. But like, so it's things like that. It's just like not. Like, let me tell you about the time, you know, XYZ happened. So, but appropriate for the time, like I think is a huge.
I agree.
That's a key indicator. Yeah, not the love bombing. Again, like, oh, I really like you. Not, I really love you. We're not overly talking about the future, or like, you know, I want to do this with you. I want you to be the mother of my kids. Like, bro, it's 3 weeks. Like, let's calm down. So. Now that we know kind of laid the ground rules, right? Genuine connection.
Yeah.
We get into your question of just like, okay, we have the emotional, we have a genuine connection. It is there, but we don't have the opportunity for shared physical space. So like, what are the concerns of it not translating? Like, where does your head go?
I mean, the reason why my head goes there, which is a different circumstance because we've met. This is not like we match on an app and we've never met. It does make a little difference because we've met like, 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
So why that goes to my mind is because when I was on Hinge and I was going on dates, like there were so many times where we would have great conversation and then I meet in person, it just doesn't translate.
Yeah.
So like, even though we've met, we haven't met in the same capacity. We haven't interacted the same capacity.
Yeah.
So like, what is that now going to feel like? Is that going to be weird? Is that going to be like, you know?
Yeah. No.
Is it going to translate? Was it only meant to be like a friendly way? Is the chemistry not going to be there in person?
Yeah. It's hard because I've been in that position too with, going on dates, right? Like, because again, you're meeting on apps, so it's a digital form, and then you're having, and some people are really good texters, some people are not, whatever, and then you go in person, and I think maybe more times than not, it was always like, this is not hitting.
Yeah.
Like, this is not hitting the same. And I think it's a very valid concern because also it's like, I don't know, maybe you just get used to each other in a specific space and way.
Yeah.
And then you actually have to then try to bring that into the physical and the shared physical space. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, how, like, also I think maybe you can all like, I think a concern, and I know a concern of mine in the past has been like, being so concerned to make sure that it feels the same.
Like you're in your head?
Yeah. So I was in my head, like, a lot of times because I was just like, and then also like as women, I think we're very much like, well, what is he thinking? What is he thinking?
Yeah.
How's he feeling? Like, or also the expectation.
The expectation gets in here because you think you build it up. You're like, it's got to be good. No, I think those all play a role. I think you have to just go with it. Like, it is what it is. Because I was talking to Bianca, and Bianca's like, so it doesn't translate. So what? You move on. And I'm like, it's true. You know, because she's like, true. I was like, oh, I'll be sad. Well, she's like, well, will you though? Because it's not translating.
That actually does. That's a good point because that does make it easier. Yeah. That's easier when you're not into that person. So, and then it goes away or if it's just like,
because she was like, okay, so what's the worst case scenario here?
Yeah.
You meet and it's not good. Yeah. All right. I'm like, you're right. There's no reason to have it weigh it so heavy.
Yeah.
She's like, what did you really lose? And I'm like,
a pen pal?
A pen pal, but you're right. Like, and I was like, but I'll be sad. And she's like, well, but would you? Because it's not.
I think you still would be.
But it would be a different type of sadness. It would be a different type of like, oh, I wish it would have. I wish it would have translated.
I wish it would have worked out. I wish it would have translated.
But then she makes a good point where it's like, but you wouldn't be into it, so you would be like, whatever.
No, I agree with that to an extent, but then I also think that what you would mourn the loss of and what you would be sad over is just the lack of no longer talking, because that's also where the connection is so strong, and then you know that that's no longer available. Yeah. And I mean, and you've been through breakups. I haven't. So, and you even said, like, sometimes it's very hard to, like, go from, like, I'm talking to this person every day. They're kind of my best friend in that capacity, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And there is a loss there. And there's
a loss there. I'm not
going
to say there's not, but I'm not going to, you're right. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I wouldn't be sad, but I'm also good at just, like, moving forward.
That is one thing about you. Me, I'll harp on it for fucking years, and I'll be like if we can just go back to that,
yeah.
I just want to talk about this for one more second. And you're just like, I'm done. Like, once it's done, it's done. But I think this is a very real concern.
Yeah.
Amongst women or just in the dating world, men and women both. It's just like, does it translate? And then that's what kind of gets you kind of pre-sad. It's like, what if it doesn't?
Yeah, it already makes me hesitate a bit where I'm like, do I keep talking to you till I see you?
That's another thing is, do we keep talking until we see each other? And I think that looks different for everyone, because it's like, well, some people are like, oh, we're able to see each other next week. So obviously you keep talking.
Yeah.
And some are like, well, we're not going to be able to see each other for a month.
Yeah, because, I can't get into deeds. My situation's a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
So timeline unsure.
Timeline is unsure. So do you keep going or do you not?
Well, obviously I'm going to keep going. It's the really wise choice. I don't know.
That's the
Am I
other part
willing to throw the dice? Yes.
That's the question. Is like,
it's one of those things, right? It's not like I have somebody else I have this crazy connection with where I'm like, well, am I wasting my time on this connection when I have a guy here? Like, the genuine connection is there, so I guess it's worth the risk.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
I'm putting someone aside out here that I'm like, oh my God, this is my everything out here. It's so hard to find that.
Yeah.
And
it's very hard.
It's hard to find what I'm looking for.
Oh, very difficult. It's so funny, though, you bring that up, because I feel like women do that a lot, or maybe people just in general. I don't know. I always say women because, y'all, that's my perspective. So, but I feel like there always has to be like this or that. But what I mean by that is, I feel like in other conversations that I've had with people, of like, why don't you just walk away? It's like, well, what else am I doing? Like, it's almost like we have to only walk away, or we only have to stop something because it's influencing or hindering something else.
True.
And that's not always the case. I feel like that's maybe something.
No, you're right. And it's not to discount, because I don't want it to sound like, well, he's all I have right now. Because I ain't me, I won't entertain it if I don't feel it.
Right.
So it's not about that. It's just, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Except some sadness, which life goes on, you move forward, but at least I can say, I tried.
Yeah. Well, and that's also love, right?
Yeah.
Like, love is vulnerability and the possibility that you are going to get your heart broken.
Always.
Yet we're always like, sign me up.
I mean, that can happen after marriage. That can happen at any
anywhere.
Stage.
Well,
so
ultimately, if you think about it, it always will end in heartbreak, because someone's going to die.
Yeah.
So it always will.
Romeo and Juliet, we both die.
They both die.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point it will end in heartbreak. It will always it's how funny is that, actually? That'll always end in heartbreak, because one of you is going to die.
Romeo and Juliet it.
Well, even
for the first few minutes until you die, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, because even she died before him, or true. Sort of,
Yeah, and then he's like, I gotta die now.
Yeah.
Well,
there's like a death pact.
I will say, we're getting off topic, but I watched the Living to 100 Blue Zone documentary on Netflix, and y'all, these people are living up to 100. So me and my future partner, whoever that may be, we about to move to Loma Linda.
Loma Linda.
Because Loma Linda is a blue zone in California. So if y'all see me in Loma Linda, gardening,
you know why.
Playing tennis at 90, you know why.
Eating the nuts, the cashews.
Eating the nuts, the cashews. I was impressed by these people. They're like playing pickleball in their 80s. They're like, hey. I'm like, that's about to be me.
Yeah. No, that actually is really impressive.
I'm about to relocate to Loma Linda. Never thought that was for me.
Yeah,
isn't that San Bernardino County?
Yeah, I think so.
I wasn't seeing myself in the Bernardino.
The SB.
Were you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
It was not. It was on the cards.
Yeah, that wasn't in the cards. That wasn't in the game plan.
Sorry to my fellow San Bernardinos.
Yeah, we're not trying to offend anyone, but
please welcome me with open arms.
You all know where you live. But anyway, so no, but that is, I do want to watch that documentary. But I know we're getting a little off topic, but But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good way. That's what I love Bianca for. Is because it's always like, okay, let's just talk worst case scenario. Like what does happen? And yeah, okay, so then it doesn't. Then you move on. At least you'll know. I think that's also kind of the nice part too, is that at least you'll know.
Yeah.
So you're not sitting here. Because that's the danger with talking. Speaking from experience, is you start to create this this alternate reality.
Yeah.
Because you start, and usually conversations are good. It's not like you're going to sit there and argue for 2 hours. You're really probably not even going to get into an argument, maybe, to be honest. Like, maybe you'll disagree on some stuff, but it'll always kind of come back around. So it's kind of a somewhat distorted reality, I will say. And kind of segueing into the kind of distorted reality is when you do have the ability to share physical space, so go on a date, but then you're just like, do we have a connection, or am I just the fun person on the date?
Yeah.
Or am I the one that's like making it what I want it to be? Which again, I think is something that women of our age and generation are facing.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're becoming such good daters.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think there's a lot of men and women out there that are becoming really good daters.
Because everyone's mass dating.
Because everyone's mass dating. We're on these apps. You're on multiple apps. I don't think people are ever really truly on maybe just
when I was on Hinge, I was just on Hinge.
You were just on Hinge.
Hinge was for me, it was serious but not.
Yes.
It was dabbling.
Yes. It was
dipping my toes.
Yeah, dipping your toes, just testing the waters. Yeah. Also, it was good for the plot,
It was good for the plot. It wasn't like I was open to the right connection. But yeah, I agree with you. I have friends that are on multiple. No one's usually just on. It's Hindle. Is Bumble or Hinge?
Binge.
Yeah, it's binge. That's a good card. It's binge.
It's binge.
Yeah.
Binder.
Yeah.
Or Hinder. Yeah. Which is also very appropriate.
I don't know if Tinder is still a thing, but
yeah. But I because I remember I was on multiple dating apps. I mean, it was like maybe 2 or 3, 3 at the most, I think was like my limit. But yeah, when you're seriously dating, you typically are on a couple of apps. Mm-hmm. And so you start, and then of course all this advice out here is like, go on dates, like keep putting yourself out there, like you never know, blah, blah. So then you find yourself going on possibly anywhere from 1 to 3 dates a week. So you're like getting good at dating.
Yeah.
That's like going on like, 1 to 3 job interviews a week. Like you're getting good at interviewing, and like you can kind of anticipate everything. So, so it's one of those things where now that because you've become such a good dater, do you actually enjoy this person, or are you just good at it?
Mm-hmm. It's a valid question.
Yeah, it's like when you're on an interview, like, do I actually really want this job, or am I just like actually just really good at interviewing? I know how to answer these questions.
Yeah, which is funny because I think we've talked about this on the pod before, but after every date, Jackie would be like, was it a fun date or was it you?
Yes.
She would always ask me that.
Yeah.
Was a date fun or was it fun because you're fun?
Yes. Because that's what happens is you're like, oh, wait, shit. Like, I'm putting my best foot forward, like, and I have a good personality, and I'm a good conversationalist. So was it truly the date as a whole, including my date, the person, or was it just me? And I was like,
carried everything.
And I'm like, thanks for coming, everyone, tonight, like type of coming to my show. And it was funny because as I was looking this up and kind of reviewing someone, I read a comment by somebody on something, and they said that they were told you can bring the good out of anyone. And that kind of stuck with her, and she was kind of like, oh shit. Like and it's not like you can change anything. Like if you have speaking from experience, if you have a really good personality, no, but if you are just a good, you're funny, you're intelligent, you're witty, you're a good conversationalist, like you're fun to be around. There's nothing you can do to change that. I'm not saying like go into it being an asshole, or just like pulling back, but it's one of those things to just be cognizant of.
Yeah.
Because you could get into a distorted reality. And I started going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
We both did, as distorted reality. And something that actually can become very dangerous is limerence. And I don't know if anyone, because I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of that until you told me about it, and I was like, limerence.
Yeah, I had never heard of limerence, and we're not going to go into because this is a rabbit hole. There's actually not a ton of research done about it because it is kind of a very, I don't know, I don't want to say outlandish, but kind of somewhat of an outlandish situation and feeling. But basically, limerence refers to an intense and involuntary emotional state or infatuation, so obsession, that an individual experiences towards another person. It involves a strong desire for emotional reciprocation and connection with the object of affection, often accompanied by intrusive and obsessive thoughts about that person. Basically, it is a fucked up reality.
Long story short.
I've heard, I was reading, and actually this kind of leads to stalking. Oh. Like that's how
real stalking or Instagram stalking?
No, like real stalking. Like that's kind of where this can go. And because as I was reading this, and I and again, we'll probably have to do another episode about this because it's truly fascinating. Mm-hmm. But there were like 4 signs of like limerence. And one of them was like, you think about them all the time. And I was like, wait, I did that with the pilot.
But then don't you think about, that one was kind of tricky though, because when you're into someone, you do think about them all the time.
Yeah. I think it's more in terms of, I would really love, and this might have to, I honestly might ask my therapist about this. Because I think it's more talking about very intrusive and obsessive thoughts. And I think also a key difference just in my very, 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 very light kind of research was that it's also coming from this perspective of if this person would be into me, then I could be fully myself and I could live a full life.
Okay.
Like if I just had this
like a strong specific codependency. Well, not codependency, but like,
yeah,
almost like you complete me.
Yes, which we all know we hate.
Yeah.
And yeah, you complete me, but it has to be this specific person. And I think that's the main difference.
Yeah, I guess the obsession, it's like,
yes.
When a guy gets obsessed with a girl and then he kills
her. Yeah, but that's what it is. It's because it's what they call it a limerent object. And so it has to come from that specific.
Or is it kind of like, if I can't have you, no one can?
Maybe kind of that too. Maybe that's where limerence can go. Sorry, guys.
The lights just turned on out of nowhere.
If you're listening to us and not watching on YouTube, the lights just turned on, and we all, Son and I both just like, anyway. Ghost? Limerence? Is that you? No, but that's where it could get to, right? Because like stalking could lead to a violent act.
Yeah, unhealthy obsession.
Yes, a very unhealthy obsession. But basically, like that's why you actually do have to be very cognizant and careful about, what's the version in your head if it's different from reality, and what's going on. And that's why, like talking every day, like it is hard. Again, I'll from my own personal perspective with the pilot, I know that I was creating a very different reality in my head versus what was in front of me. Yeah. Which led to me not accepting the signs. It led to me not seeing it for what it was. There was also other things involved, just like very low self-esteem and low self-worth and just kind of an overall lack of understanding. But I think that if someone asks me, would you go back and do it all the same as far as talking to him as much as you did? I would say no. And that's why like we've had this conversation. And that's why like I do caution anyone because it does get tricky, but that's kind of regressing back to our original topic. But anyway, so that's why you do have to kind of, okay, like how do we truly decide if this was a good date?
Yeah.
Versus, am I just a good date? Like if anyone goes out with me, you're going to have a good time. So we saw a TikTok video. Sana sent me a TikTok video.
Mm-hmm. As I do.
As you do. And it was kind of just like, you have a fun and great time. But basically, was he a participant in that or was he the audience? And she said her therapist was like, look at look at all the interactions that you've had. And it's not even just a first date. It's like multiple dates. Look at all the interactions you've had, all the laughs, the really fun moments. Who was the instigator of them? Like, was it you or was it him? And then you realize like, oh, it was me.
Every single time.
Every single time it was me. It was me noticing something and I commented on it and I made a really funny comment and he didn't really engage. He just laughed. And it was like, well, of course I'm going to laugh at my own joke because, it was funny. I'm funny. But every single situation was like that, or was it a good conversation because you were just allowed to talk about yourself?
Yeah.
Everyone loves talking about themselves.
They do.
Which is why we have a podcast.
We don't talk about ourselves that much. Actually, Jackie's like, I wish we would talk about ourselves more.
I know.
But here we are, alas,
No, but that's kind of a thing is that's kind of like one of those psychological tricks within even in interviews is the last question that you ask an interview, the interviewer in a process, if you are the interviewee, is, tell me about your experience within the company and, your perspective or about the company culture and like, how do you align with it? And they're just like, oh, okay. Well, and they people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So if that's the last question, you end the interview on a high. And then the interviewer is like, I really liked that person. It's like, well, why did you like them? Because the last feeling you have is very euphoric because you got to talk about yourself.
Y'all, you just got some interview advice from Jacqueline.
Yeah, always make sure the last question is, let's talk about
who used to be a manager who would hire people.
Yes,
so.
yeah. Then you just leave them with this, oh my God, that was great.
Yeah.
I love this person. It's like, well, you love them because you got to talk about yourself. So that's a question, on a date. Like, did you actually have fun or were you just allowed to talk?
It's not easy being so fun.
You know, it's not. Listen, y'all, it's a blessing and a curse.
It's it clouds your judgment. Sometimes I should have a shitty personality.
Sometimes it would just be easier. But we've kind of figured out ways to help with it. So that's one of them. We've done that with each other. I've just kind of asked like, well, what was the conversation? Like a big thing that we do and highly, highly, highly recommend is the date debrief.
Yeah. Everybody do a debrief.
Everyone do a debrief.
And the funny thing is we do 2 debriefs.
Yes. We do.
And you got to do 2 debriefs. Because you're first off the high of the date. Then you need to sleep. And then you need to
talk about it
marinate
again.
it. Yes. And then you got to talk about it again the next day.
Yeah. You got to do a 2-parter.
It has to be a 2-parter.
Yeah. It's a 2-step process.
Yeah.
But no, we would anytime. I mean, like recently when Sana was on Hinge, she would call me on her way home.
Yeah.
Just because it's nice to know that someone's safe and didn't get murdered.
Yeah.
Or safe and didn't get murdered. But I would just let her talk. I would say, how did it go? She'd be like, okay, well, this like literally it was start to finish.
Yeah.
And it was like, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And, sometimes it'd be like, this gave me the ick.
Yeah. Didn't like that. And sometimes my icks are unreasonable. Jackie's like, get over it. And I'm like, did you see the way his pinky moved?
Listener, one time Sana told me that what gave her the ick is that a guy sat down and he crossed his legs.
Ooh, that other ladies will understand that. I'm sorry, a guy sitting with his legs crossed is one of my biggest icks. Sorry if you do that, Caesar. But I can, it's so feminine to me. I hate it.
It was really, really funny.
Is it not to you?
Well, here's the weird part. It is, but it isn't. So it's funny because my dad does that.
I'd rather you just do like a figure 4.
Yeah. Where it's like the ankle is on your knee versus like you're sitting there like waiting like a nice little lady.
Yeah.
with your handbag and gloves.
Yeah. With your handbag and gloves. And then your hands on top of your knee.
Prim and proper, just sitting there.
I can't stand that. So PSA, if anybody wants to go on a date with me, if you want me to leave the date, cross your legs. If you're over the date, I'll get the hint.
You're on a date with somebody and they lean back in their chair and they cross their legs. They're like, I think you know what this means. Date's over. I think you can see yourself out. That's the international symbol for Sana, apparently.
We just gave guys a bunch of tips on how to exit a date now.
Just, you know what? Lean back in your chair, cross your legs.
I'm crying.
Put your hands, both hands, one on top of another, and just say, well. And a woman will gladly stand up and say adieu.
Oh my God.
Lose my number.
Well, I think you know what this means.
I think you know what this means. No, it is feminine.
Good thing I did not wear mascara. I am crying.
It is feminine to me. But the thing is, my dad does it. And my dad is a very masculine dude. So
you never like, dude, what are you doing?
No, because the way that he does it, it's weird the way that he does it. It's very just like, he does it when he actually has a very much look on his face. Like, I don't give a shit about what's happening right now. He has this like very careless look on his face. Yeah. And he's just sitting there. Normally his arms are crossed across his chest while his legs are like that.
You know what? So, it's better than this with the hands over
hand.
But either way, I think other females will back me up on this, that it is an ick when a guy crosses his legs like that. I will be like, date 2, no.
This might be a game that we have to play, ick or not.
Do I have any other weird ones I've told you? Because there have been a few times that I've told you and you were like, you're being ridiculous.
God, I'm trying to think. Damn, I should have written these down. Yeah, there was the crossing the legs one. That was a big one. I was like, wait, what? And you're like, he crossed his legs. I was like, what do you mean? And then we went into it. God,
sometimes the way they walk is an ick for me.
Yes.
I get an ick the way they walk.
Oh, same. Because I went out with a guy. I went on a few dates with a guy, and the way he walked is like he kind of like had like a stick up his butt. Like it was kind of weird, and I was just like, no, I can't do this.
The way they walk, if they're like a little goober when they walk, like if they're like kind of hunched up. I remember one of the guys I went on a date with this year, and I went on a few dates, and I was like, I can't. Your walking's a little like.
Got a little hitch in the giddy up.
It's not sexy to me.
Yeah, it's not like masculine. Like, that one guy that I went on a date with, and his walk was, I was like, and again, this is where my mind goes. I'm like, could I walk back down the aisle with this man? Like with that walk? Yeah. Like holding his hand and being like, this is who I married? Like everyone knows this is a choice that I made with that type of walk.
When there's something in their teeth, but I don't want to tell them. But I'm getting an ick the whole time.
You're such an asshole. That's on you.
That is on me, but I feel, that's one of those things that you like feel like you also feel embarrassed telling someone that there's something wrong with their face. Do you know what I mean? Why does that make us feel embarrassed?
Because you have to call something out on someone, and that is
so
very
funny.
It's conflict, and it's hard. So, fun fact for you all: if you get very uncomfortable with that, not fun fact, but fun tip. If you get very comfortable, what I always like to do is I always like to say, do I have anything in my teeth? And then inevitably they'll ask the same question. They'll be like, no, you're good. I'll be like, okay. And they'll be like, do I? I'll be like, oh yeah, you do.
No, you're going to pretend. You're going to be like, let me look. You're going to do like a whole thing so it's not so obvious. You're like, actually... If you're so quick with it, you're like, well, actually...
Well, if it's front and center, if you've got like a piece of spinach right there, like, I don't have to look. It's there.
That's definitely happened to me where I've just been like...
That's another tip with bad breath. If someone has bad breath, I'll give myself and I'll be like, oh my God, I think like my breath is like kicking like Van Damme. Like, do you want one as well?
What if they say no?
And I'll be like, take it.
You'll say take it?
Mm-hmm. I'll say like, take it. And they'll be like, oh shit. Like, that's a way of telling me like,
I don't have the balls you have. I have balls in different arenas.
You know why?
I don't have the balls there.
Because I think it's just such...
I'd rather them take a shot of vodka.
If we're not at a bar. Yeah, if we're at a bar, I'd be like, let's do some shots. And they're like, no thanks. I'm like, no, you need one. You clearly have some bacteria that needs to be cleaned in your mouth.
Lemon after.
Excuse me, bartender, do you have some mint? I'm just going to need you to chew this. No, but you know why? Because it's just I don't like. Yeah. I would never love to be made to be felt that way or feel that way.
I think I get embarrassed by making them feel embarrassed.
But that's the thing that's why I'm like, okay, how do I not? And to me,
I'd rather let them deal it when they go home and they're.
No, but then you're like, you asshole! You let me walk around. You let me walk around with something like on my shirt or like...
Well, no, if I'm dating you, obviously I'm going to tell you. If you're my friend, I'm going to tell you. But like on a first date,
I feel date is so fucking awkward. I've never had to do it on a first date.
Everybody's already on edge, so I feel awkward being like, hey, you look kind of goofy right now.
Hey, there's something in your teeth and you're crossing your legs.
I'm just going to see myself out.
I'm just, you know what? Goodbye. Thank you for dinner. Lose my number.
Yeah, you know what? Let me also just pay half of this.
Yeah, you know what? It's on me.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. At least I could do right now.
Yeah, at least I could do right now.
Yeah. No, I think it's also because it's just like a very big thing for me is like how to be ladylike and how to be a lady. Because I think that's actually kind of a lost art, just like men being gentlemen is a lost art. Women being ladies is a lost art. And so I would always want to make someone feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that is a sign of being a lady or a gentleman, is making someone feel as comfortable as possible around you without like embarrassing them. Like you don't do that. You don't do that to people. But yeah, on a first date, that's rough. That's rough. That would be fun to hear. If anyone has some good...
I had a second date like that and I still didn't say anything. Second date's still rough. It's still rough.
Oh yeah, it's still rough because it's still new.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not like in that, you're not in that space to be like, you gotta...
So I just dealt with it.
What was it? Was it somebody in his teeth?
Yeah.
Okay. This is why we're single, everyone. But anyway, but we would do the date debrief. So yes, we would get into like even the icks, and I would tell her like, stop it. You are being so unreasonable right now. You need that friend. And she's done the same to me.
I am, because I can be picky in weird ways.
Oh, very. If anyone knows, listener, if you know Sana, you know how picky she can be. Anything that you should be picky about food, you have taken all of that and transferred it to people.
Yeah. And I'm not picky in food.
You're not picky in food at all. There's nothing literally. You're like, oh, I'll eat it. Like, yeah. But no, so, but you need someone to kind of help you, you know.
Wind it back.
Yeah. And just like, okay, are you being unreasonable or is that valid type of thing? And yeah, you've done that for me as well. And I would say stuff. And I think a big thing for me is because I would always be like, well, I don't know how they meant this. I don't know what they meant by this. And a lot of times you'd be like, well, I think that's like your insecurities coming up. Like, I think, you know, that's kind of why you're interpreting it the way that you do. But what else? Like we would just go through it. We would just walk through it. We would just talk about like how we felt and how was the conversation. And part of the date debrief is like, okay, well, what kind of questions I would ask her, like, what kind of questions did he ask you? Were they engaging? Like, was he genuinely interested in what you had to say? Did it feel like an interview? Were you the one asking all the questions? Like, did he make you laugh? Like, did he make jokes? Like, so again, you're trying to kind of wade through kind of all of it because there's a lot that goes on in a first date. And yeah, we would just, and then, you know, sleep on it. Okay. Sounds like a good one. And then I would always end like, do you want to see this person again? Because again, we've said this before on the pod. That's the only question you should be answering after the first date is, do I want to see this person again? That's it. And then sleep on it. The next morning, we have another debrief, part 2. And it'd be like, so I was thinking about this a little bit more. And I don't like the way that he said this. Or I don't like that he answered this question this way or whatever. Or something that gave me pause and I'm going to have to know more about it. Or just even thinking, be like, yeah, you know what? The crossed legs and the hand over hand, just too much. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I just, you know, gives me feminine vibes. Yeah. It gives me, you know, possible gay vibes. I don't know. Like,
it's not for me.
It's not for me. Some others, you know, much braver than I would,
much braver than I
tread that road, but not for me.
No, it's not. Yeah,
I'm out. And because of that reason, I'm out.
Which is something I would do.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but sometimes the ick's way too hard for me.
You know what? It's also, everyone, that's a great trend on TikTok is the sound
Google it. Google it. Look it up on TikTok.
Yeah, look it up on TikTok.
You'll be dying, and then you'll be like, I didn't realize I had that ick too. And then you learn about all the damn icks you have, and I'm like, wow, I can never see a man again. Another big one, I don't know if we've talked about this. Again, if you're going to date me in the future, I never want to see your damn feet in sandals.
Yes, that was one. Yes, the feet in sandals.
I don't care if we're at the beach. I don't care. I'd rather you wear slides. I don't care where we're at. If you also want me to leave a date, show up in sandals.
The toes out and everything.
I can't. Even with like, I don't care if we've been together for 5 years, 6 years. It makes me want to barf. I think it's so unattractive.
But you mean by slides, like Adidas slides?
Yeah. Like
aren't slides sandals?
No, I don't like the toe separation.
Okay, so you don't... Oh.
I hate it.
The toe separation.
I hate it. The visual I'm getting right now is like pure disgust.
Does anyone else? I would love to know if anyone else has this ick.
You don't have that?
I don't have the ick.
We're going to post this clip on TikTok.
But again, because I grew up, not just like Southern California because we both did, but high school, like swimming, like being on a pool deck. I would see guys. I would see guys in.
I'm sorry.
It was rainbows. Rainbows are like
I can't like the feeling I have in me right now. It disgusts me. Guys in sandals, like, I mean, to each their own, because I have family members that do it. But for me, look, if they want to wear it, they can wear it. But as a partner, you're embarrassing me right now in your damn sandals.
Your little hairy toe.
And the separation, something about the separation is so feminine to me.
Does it feel like a little pedicure situation?
It's so, like, I can't stand it. I cannot stand it.
Now you understand why we're single, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
One sandal too many.
One sandal too many. One crossed leg too many. One hand over hand situation too many.
One foot in the teeth too many. All right, let's
go. Okay, anyway, but yeah, so we do a 2-parter debrief, but that really actually does help you it helps you separate like what you're being ridiculous about, what versus what is an actual valid concern. And okay, yes, was I just fun, or was this actually a good date? Was there a true like, oh, there was like a decent connection on this date, like, and I want to see him more, or is it just because I had a good time? Because that's a very big thing. It's like if you just had a good time, you're like, I want to do that again. Same thing about like, oh, I want to hire this person because I felt really good with them. Is that the truth though? And that's where, like I said, we get into those questions of like, tell me about him. What did you learn about him? And that's also, I think, been one where we talk about it and it's like, oh, he didn't really like say a ton. Like I was the one who was really answering a lot. So, and again, if you've decided like, I think I do want to see this person again, then it's like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I'm asking questions. So it's a highly recommend if you don't do it, especially men too. If you don't do it, like do a date debrief with one of your guy friends or, sisters or girlfriends or whoever, just whoever you trust. And then we talked about thinking of the interactions, who started them, who was the instigator, who carried them. Was it you? Again, was this person, your date, an actual participant? Me personally, Sana knows this, I love a good bit. So if like, am I doing this bit? Are you like involved with me and that's what's funny? Or is it just because I was like literally performing and, you came to see the show? And then last, and I know Sana can attest to this, was it chaotic or calm? And by chaotic, I don't mean that it was just, it looked like a movie, but if something is very exciting and something you've never experienced before, and there is kind of this height of like, or this level of chaos, and it's just like, oh my God, it was kind of messy and it was kind of fun. Was it because of, it was that? And that's what drew you into it.
Been there. I've talked about him a lot. I don't think I've ever said his name, but I've talked about him a lot.
We don't have to say his name. We're not here to put people on blast.
I mean, I really don't give a fuck about him. Yeah. So if we wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, you can say it. It doesn't really matter.
Whatever. But yeah, that was a big one because our whole dating was surrounded by excitement and chaos. Like, I sprained my ankle on a date.
Yeah.
Everything that could happen.
You had like 24-hour dates with him.
I had 24-hour dates. I had very long dates. It was just very chaotic. It was always something. It was thrilling. It was something like I never experienced before.
Yes.
And then it does confuse you. It's like, is this just like such a genuine, crazy connection? Or is it because there's so much chaos? And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Because not that like spraining my ankle sounds fun, but like, it's just it was always something.
Right.
But the way it was around it, the way things would be after that, it was just always thrilling and fun and exciting. And it's hard to explain, but it does confuse you because you're like, is it him or I love the excitement?
Yeah. The adrenaline.
That
adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And then if you get those feelings with that person and adrenaline rushes are fun, that's what you get addicted to.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, well, I want more with this person.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, oh, it must be this person.
Yeah, because we always would have a joke around and be like, it's always something. Mm-hmm. When we hang out, it's always something. Mm-hmm. In a fun way, though. It's always something.
Mm-hmm. There was always, I remember when we would do date debriefs.
Yeah.
And for the record, I was never a fan. And we know this, but I was also never a fan of how much time you spent. And we've talked about that. But that's what there's always something. There was always some sort of random
like he was
thing happening.
One guy it would be me and him, and we would have the most fun chaotic fun.
Yeah.
And I would never be like that with anybody else. Where like my ex would always be like, let's go to the bar together. And I'm like, boring.
Yeah.
With him, I was like, yes.
Yes, let's do it. Oh my gosh, let's drink. Let's go have fun. Let's a night out.
Dance around. Let's like meet people. Let's like, it was just always fun.
Yeah, well, because again, it was like that thrill of like, I don't know where the night's going to take us.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about too, is chaos or calm. And if it was chaotic, I highly recommend you to be like, no, we're going to go sit in a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And we're really going to dig into this and see if there really is a genuine connection, or is it was just the thrill. I was just chasing a thrill. You know, it's that adrenaline rush. That's what made it fun. It's really not, I actually don't have anything in common with you, because as we come to realize with this guy, you didn't have a lot in common with him. There was a lot of discrepancies about who you guys were, personalities, values, ethics, morals, you know, what you want out of life. But during the time period, though,
it didn't feel like that.
Didn't feel like that. And there was, and we will say that Sana was very adamant, like, no, there's something. And like, maybe there was a little bit, but it's like, but is it being really, but is also the lack thereof really being overshadowed by the thrill and the chaos. So, so that's kind of our little
spiel.
Yeah, our little TED talk into connection. It's tough. I think it's something that a lot of us are facing, being single in our 30s, and then really trying to get a handle on it as we start getting older, because then you start recognizing, like, I mean, it does start, time is, you know, you feel like it's creeping up on you, but then you're kind of just recognizing how important genuine connection is. And then you're also realizing how hard it is to kind of distinguish. So, and then just with this online dating and apps, it's hard.
It's hard out there.
It's a difficult world. So, if you are single and dating and out there on the streets,
we are with you.
We are with you. We stand with you. We see you. We hear you. We value you. We support you. Yeah. And if you have single friends or single family members, you know, maybe do something nice for them.
Give them a hug.
Give them a hug. Give them a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
Just ask them, how's it going?
How are you today?
How are you doing?
Yeah.
Have a little sympathy. Have a little empathy. Because it's tough. It is tough. It really is. It is not. Oh, it's not your mama and daddy's dating world. Hell, it's not even when we were in college.
Yeah, it's not.
World. It's not it. But we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got some.
Yeah.
Hope
some
you got a couple laughs,
because this was funny. I was dying.
Hope you got some laughs.
I want you guys to know that I don't feel like you guys always see this on the pod, but this is how me and Jackie's conversations usually are.
Yeah,
it
usually is.
I'm crying.
But hopefully you got some good takeaways, some laughs. I don't know. But we'd love to hear from you as always. If you've got some icks. If you got some icks,
I want to hear if anyone else has weird icks, because I could probably bring up a whole list.
Yeah,
I'm going to think of a list.
Yeah, I mean, at some point we're going to have to do like ick or not type of thing. So if you agree with Sana about the leg crossing, I'd love to hear it.
And the sandals.
Hand over hand, you know, sitting there like a proper young lady.
Yeah. Distinguished gentleman.
We'd love to know, you know, food and teeth. How do we navigate? I don't know.
Let's hear it all.
Love to hear it all. But, and don't forget to leave us a review, leave us some comments.
Email us.
Email us. Yes. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up.
Take us to dinner.
Yeah. Take us to dinner. Send us flowers.
Yeah.
But yes, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen, so that you do get alerts when a new episode is up. So you do not miss, you don't miss this gold.
You don't. You don't want to
miss this.
You don't.
But yeah, so thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yes, have a great next few weeks.
See you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.